Welcome back to Talk Radio, KTIE. You're listening to the Inland Empire Real Sense Radio. This is a production of the Real Estate Radio Network. As we were leaving for break, Bob Irish was going over an awful lot of information. We were talking about short sales. We were talking about loan modifications and so on. While we were on break, Bob and I were discussing the differences between going through a foreclosure and the differences of a short sale. And one of the things that came to my mind was if you go through an actual foreclosure, before the break, we were talking about how Fannie Mae is coming out with a new guideline. And their new guideline is if you go through a foreclosure, you cannot buy a home using a Fannie Mae program for 7 years. This guideline comes out as of release December 8th, which is 7 days away, one week from today. Man, I still can't get over that it's December 2010. Anyway, for all of you that are ready for Christmas, God bless you. And, okay, so getting back to Bob. Bob has been talking about short sales and loan mods. I think one of my questions, when you get people that come in and they're looking to do a short sale, do you find that the banks are digging their heels in and they aren't responsive and they aren't working with you, or they're losing paperwork, or they're long to get back to you? What are you finding?
The short sales really have changed in the past year. I'd say the lost paperwork, which is still happening with loan modifications, has stopped with the banks. There were many times we'd put our whole package in a fax. It would go to who knows where. They never received it. We do it again and again. That took us weeks sometimes just to get a response. Now everything is PDF'd in, and we have accounts set up with Equator, which is Bank of America, Wells Fargo, GMAC. We have accounts with each bank that we can upload our own files to, so that customer's information is securely uploaded. So it isn't any more lost paperwork. Unfortunately, short sales do take a long time, typically, depending on the bank. Some are quicker, some are longer. But overall, it's just a matter of how many they have to process and how quickly they can get back to us.
Do you feel as though they are still understaffed? Because that was kind of the feeling I was getting. Have they geared up to take on the amount of business that is coming that direction, or are they still just staying right where they are? And what's your thought?
The banks have geared up, and they really do have a good amount of people helping out. I don't think that's really the problem. The biggest problem people don't understand is, we'll just say any particular major bank only holds a portfolio of 5, maybe 10% of the loans they write. Everything else is investors. The investors hold the approval for whether a short sale or a foreclosure is going to proceed. So a bank may not be able to make that final decision without that investor's approval. And that investor sometimes is difficult to get a hold of. So the bank's staffed up. They're doing a pretty decent job. The investors, unfortunately, don't have the same rules and regulations and criteria to follow. So it's a little harder to get quick responses out of them.
Well, this is a lot of information. I know a lot of you, if you're in your car and so on, you do not have the ability to write anything down. But Bob Irish's direct phone number, like I said earlier, is 951-313-6080. Again, 951-313-6080. Do you have an email address or a website or something that people could go to also?
Yeah, I have 2 websites actually that help out a lot. One is simple. For short sales, it's shortsalegallery.com. And for anyone who wants to do the loan modification, please go to rescue.org. It is a nonprofit. You'll find my webpage on there as well, as I do referrals to them. But it's rescue.org. Or if you want to read all about short sales, shortsalegallery.com, and that is my website. My cell phone's on there. Call me if you have questions. That's what we're here for.
And if you can't get to a piece of paper or whatever, call my off-air direct line, whether it's for a realtor like Bob Irish to help you through these times, or Ollie Gray over at Liberty Mutual, or Holly Williams for advice on a bankruptcy or so on. Call me on my off-air direct line, 1-800-658-8183. That's 1-800-658-8183. I will get you in touch with the right person. I will direct traffic. I will make sure that you get to the person that's going to give you the advice that you need to get through and make an informed decision. Nothing is more important. I've always said we're here to provide you with knowledge, and you all know knowledge is power. So do not go to bed with a question on your mind. Nothing worse. I constantly hear from different agents that I do business with that they're going to put in an offer on a short sale property and they can't. We do what we call stacking closing costs. A lot of times, possibly a buyer will have 3.5% down available through a gift or whatever for an FHA loan, but they don't have the money for closing costs. And with FHA, you're allowed to get the seller or get a gift for all your closing costs or whatever. And I'm constantly hearing from a lot of the agents that I work with that on these short sales, the banks aren't receptive to paying closing costs. What are you finding?
It kind of depends on the buyer, to be honest. If it's an FHA buyer, has an FHA loan, the banks will typically give closing costs. Conventional loan, it's kind of a 50-50 shot. And if you're a cash buyer, they don't give any closing costs. So they actually do look at each buyer to see what kind of buyer it is to decide what kind of credits that can be allowed to give it.
So based on that, you are seeing banks working with buyers. If they have the down payment and they're decent buyers, you have seen them work with them as far as closing costs go.
Absolutely.
Great. We're going to have Leslie Trainer from the County of Riverside on within the next couple of weeks to talk about down payment assistance programs, because I'm very active in most of the down payment assistance programs in the area. And typically what we find is on these down payment assistance programs, we're looking at a 60-day escrow. A lot of sellers, a lot of banks have not been real receptive to the longer escrow periods. What are you finding on your transactions?
That's actually fairly true. The best we can hope for when we ask for an approval letter is 45 days. And if we don't close in 45 days, it goes back to ground zero, and you have to start the short sale over if you don't close in that 45-day time frame. So we really are limited to what time frames we do have to work within.
See, back in the old days, it was real simple, because as a lender, we could have an entire loan application completely in place, the Reg Z, the good faith estimate, and everything out. Now, the way the government changed all of our guidelines as of January, we can't even do a good faith or realistically open a loan application until we have an accepted offer and we have the price, the address, we have all the information. And that's kind of a stumbling block. It seems like we're having a lot of regulations changing on us almost on a weekly basis, and it's affecting the lending side. Are you seeing that as much on the real estate side in reference to short sales or REOs or things like that you deal with?
Yeah, even the California Association of Realtors have changed their short sale forms, their short sale addendums to match the changing times. So, we just got a new issue. I haven't even read them all. It just came out a couple days ago. The short sale listing addendum and short sale purchase agreement addendums are completely different, because once a year they try and update everything that's going on. So they're a little behind, but at least they're trying to catch up. So yes, and that's the problem is the banks have their expectations, and realtors who have a different set of rules and regulations to go by, and the two don't always mesh very well.
Right. It really does. It makes it kind of hard. I wish everybody could sit down at a big old round table, and we might get through this a little bit quicker. But all we can do is work within the ground rules that we have, and that's why Bob Irish is here, and that's why I'm here. We need to know these things. You need to know these things. You need to know if you hit a bump in the road, who to call, who to ask. You need to make sure that you are informed of how the system works. There's nothing worse, there's nothing more traumatic than going down a road and finding out that you've been working with possibly an agent that is unfamiliar with the system, unfamiliar with the road laws, and so on and so forth. So it's real important for you to align yourself with somebody that's professional, that has your best interest, and I say this every week, that has your best interest. This program is completely for your benefit. This program is not for anybody but you, the listener. Whether you're an agent, whether you are a buyer, whether you're a seller, whether you're a homeowner in distress, this program is for you. We're here to offer answers for you. Bob Irish, what a great source of information. He's here. Matter of fact, he gives classes to realtors on how to do short sales. That's the kind of guy he is. He gets out there and makes sure that people that are in his own industry, that are possibly even his competition, know how to take care of you, how to do the transaction correctly. Am I correct?
Absolutely. If there's 10,000 foreclosures in Riverside this quarter, I might get 100. That leaves 9,900 that people still need help.
10,000.
Yep.
That's a huge number. I know that we have some great stories. You and I have been talking back and forth, and you have some stories. If you just stay with us just a little bit longer, we have some great information for you. And Bob has a couple of stories that he has told me that I definitely want him to share with you. So don't go away. Stay with us. You're listening to KTIE 590, and this is the Inland Empire Real Sense Radio. We'll be back shortly.